Welcome back to Block TV, where it is time for a special fireside chat with the people and initiatives moving the sphere forward. And today, a special eye on Africa and blockchain and the women, especially, who are moving it forward. Now, aside from remittances and currency volatility, financial inclusion is a well-known hot button topic in Africa, as 1.7 billion of the world's unbanked live there. Now, needless to say, that is where many in the sphere hope cryptocurrencies will be able to solve those issues. There's also hope, though, that blockchain technology can help bring about dramatic improvements to the infrastructure of the African continent, be it blockchain-based IDs or the ability to build credit histories or track supply chains. Now, the blockchain opportunities are massive, and those pushing them are none other than the United Africa Blockchain Association. And I'm very pleased to be joined in studio by Yaliwe Soko. She's the chairwoman of the association, who is in Tel Aviv for the Blockchain for Global Impact Conference. And I'm very, very happy to have you with us here, Yaliwe. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, before we start, Africa was in the eye of the sphere, of the crypto sphere, in the last several weeks, because Jack Dorsey, none other than the man behind Twitter, tweeted the following promise, and here was his tweet. This was tweeted, I think about a week ago. That tweet obviously basically said that he's leaving Africa, but he's looking forward very much to going back to Africa, it's on the screen right now, and living there for 3 to 4 months in 2020, and that the opportunity there is massive. He's a big supporter of blockchain and crypto. Does Africa need Jack Dorsey?
That's a very funny question. I don't think we need him, but we could utilize him somehow, I think.
I'm sure you
he's got something to offer somewhere.
Bingo. Now, at the end of the day, he's right.
Yes.
Africa is an incredible, people have been in the cryptosphere, always use it, be it Mark Zuckerberg or whatnot, as Africa is a great use case. Africa is the place to try and implement crypto. But what can blockchain do for Africa?
Blockchain can actually do a lot for Africa. First and foremost, Africa is an emerging economy, right? So there's a lot that still has to be built on the continent. And compared to other places, like most of the systems are faulty and inefficient. So blockchain can actually bring about that change. I'll give you an example of the voting systems, for example, and the
Yes.
ID systems. They're very porous. So actually, blockchain can help us change those things. Another thing is trade. It's very tedious to do trade in Africa. Africa consists of over 50 states. But one thing is that if I have to travel to, let's say, Nigeria, for example, I always have to exchange my local currency into the US dollar. And then I get to Nigeria, I have to change it back into the Naira, and I'm losing value. So a lot of times trade is very difficult. So trade between Africans and also the supply chain. I mean, most of the African countries right now are still using old systems, manual systems, a lot of, how would I put it, just a lot of processes, Some jobs are not even necessary, to be honest. I'll give you an example. So I was in Zambia. Actually, I was coming here, and I get down to the boarding gate. I've been through this whole process. I've been through immigration. And I get down there by the boarding gate, and I find 2 people sitting there checking and stamping boarding passes.
It's 2019. I know.
I know.
It's 2019.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is not necessary. I've been through immigration already. They've checked, everybody has checked my boarding pass. But some things are not necessary.
And some things are not necessary. It's holding the continent
Yes.
back. Many are saying that. So let me ask you this before we touch on, at the end of the day, you're one of the people who lead the attempts to, refurbish Africa, so to speak, or make that the use case for both cryptocurrencies and blockchain.
Definitely.
You are totally right. What do you think then is holding blockchain from being implemented in Africa nowadays?
I think, firstly, it's the systems, and secondly, it's the red tapes, right? So this is a technology that is misunderstood, right? And I often say, people fear what they don't understand.
Right.
People fear what they don't understand. And if you don't understand something, you'll be thinking, oh, it's here to destroy us, it's here to take away from us. So we're trying to create a lot of awareness in that sphere. Yeah.
a lot of awareness in that sphere. In that respect, you know, it's so important. Tell me about the organization that you're helming before we really delve into this, because you are the CEO of the United African Blockchain Association. What is the United African Blockchain Association?
Okay, so the United Africa Blockchain Association is, I would say, Pan-African organization, right? What we came to realize is that we can't do things in isolation. So me in my little corner doing something else, and the other person, the little corner doing something else. I mean, Africa is big, so we needed, we needed a body that's going to unite everybody and say, you know what, right now I say, you know what, there is no time for competition. It's time for collaboration. Let us work together and make this work, because the blockchain space is very, very small. So if I'm doing one thing and the other person is doing another thing, we're not going to move. So
how small is the blockchain space in Africa right now?
I think mostly it's quite small. Very, I think there's a lot of crypto users,
right?
Not in the technology itself. And what I came across is that, I'll give you an example of Nigeria and South Africa, right? Ghana, they've been ranking top in terms of Bitcoin searches around the world. And it's exciting as it is, but for me it's not, because it's for the wrong reasons.
Look, you're touching on what we deal with in the sphere many, many times. You know, people think blockchain, it's immediately synonymous with Bitcoin. Bitcoin can be great and wonderful, but you're talking about the fact the price of up and down of Bitcoin is not what Africa needs, right?
Exactly. And they're actually looking at Bitcoin as a get-rich kind of scheme, like getting away from poverty, and they don't care about the technology. If you had to take a survey around the city and ask people what they know about the technology, they'll say, oh, is it Bitcoin? And because there have been a lot of Ponzi schemes coming onto the continent, South Africa has been big on a lot of Ponzi schemes, including, sorry to say this, BitClub network. Right.
BitClub network was prevalent there, wasn't it?
Very prevalent. Very, very prevalent.
And BitClub, now we're talking about that case that is being sued for 72 million, I believe. I mean, I hope I'm not botching that, in the United States. Yeah. What do you think of the BitClub? You know, how does something like that happen? Because then it gives everybody a bad reputation, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think it's because everybody's looking for a way out of poverty. And what people haven't realized, that with this technology can actually create a shared economy, because what happens in Africa is that people don't know the power that they have, right? And especially the people, maybe the underprivileged, they've been taken advantage of. So this person would take, I think South Africa at some point had a very high credit rate and loan rate, because a lot of people would go to the bank to get loans and invest in Bitcoin. Jeez. Which left them bankrupt at some point, and they were paying off a lot of debt because why? There's misinformation. And like I said, everybody's just trying to get out of poverty. Everybody's
trying to get out of poverty. You can't fault them. We can talk forever about the powers that be in the Western world that like to maintain that at the end of the day. What is your job in trying to educate? How hard has it been to try to educate the people of Africa? Let's start with that blockchain is something different. Because apropos trade, that can be solved by blockchain. Yes. Ponzi schemes, you know, that's what people don't understand, also could be solved by the technology rather than the so-called utility of it. That is so easily, you know, sold in the wrong way. Yeah. How hard has it been, where you're standing from, you're based in Johannesburg right now, to educate the people of Africa or the leaders that blockchain needs to be part of the system of education?
It has been very hard. You know, just going out there and say, hey, you need to come and learn something, it has been very hard. So I think we took an approach which is more of an African way. So, you know, in Africa, there's this thing of, most of the things that we've learned so far have been through oral tradition, passed down from our great-grandparents to our grandparents to our parents. So we as an association took an initiative that we're calling Train the Trainer.
What does that mean?
Okay, I'll just explain that, which is aimed at reaching and teaching 1 million people on blockchain in Africa. So what Train the Trainer is that we're going to look for kind of high-level learners, right? The people that at least have an understanding of what blockchain is, and then educate them. That is why we're also doing this through country-based associations. So as an association, we're replicating our model across different countries. So far, we've got a presence in about 13 countries. In September, I just went to Zambia and we launched the first blockchain association in Zambia. In 2020, January, we'll be going down to Botswana. They're actually expecting us there. And February, we're going down to Malawi. So we realized, let us train the leaders, and then they now start to replicate the model and train other people. That way it spreads faster.
Entirely. Now, you mentioned Zambia. I'm gonna move this a little bit to you because you're very impressive as you move your hair from the microphone. There you go.
I think this hair needs to move. It needs to move to the back.
But it is gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yaliwe, do you mind me asking how old you are?
Okay, I turned 30 this year.
Wow. I'm asking because I'm way older than you. Okay, I'm 48. You turned 30 this year. You're very impressive. You're a woman in a very, we're sitting and discussing this in the Middle East. It's a patriarchal society. Africa is also a patriarchal society.
Yes.
How did you get to blockchain?
Interesting.
Because you're very young, you're very impressive. How did you even come about from Zambia to find blockchain, to find Bitcoin?
Okay, so it was way back in 2016, and I had...
When you were 12?
I was 12, but maybe I look 12. So.
No, I'm just jealous of young people. Okay, back in 2016.
Yeah, back in 2016, I was doing an online job, and they used to pay us in Bitcoin.
Where? In Zambia?
No. I've been in South Africa for over 13 years. Yeah.
Right.
So I didn't understand what this was all about, but they taught us how to be able to actually convert the Bitcoin into cash.
Into fiat.
Into fiat. And from there, I think I started getting an interest. But then I had a full-time job, and I had an 8 to 5. And there was a possibility that the company was going to close, which right now, my full-time job just closed operations on the 13th of December. Right. So there was... I started looking at what would actually make me relevant. So I looked at the future, and another thing was they asked us as consultants for their firm to actually do tutorials on how to use certain platforms.
Right.
And I turned out to be the best performer.
Tutorial.
So I created a lot of tutorial material for them, and then I started learning. As I was creating, I was learning. In 2017, I started creating what I call a learner guide. So this learner guide was...
Online?
No. I used to do a lot of research, and so I started creating a learner guide to just help myself understand more what the blockchain technology was. And before I realized, this document was 117 pages. So it was like a full course curriculum. And I started teaching other women. So I created a meetup group called Johannesburg Women in Blockchain. Right. And every Saturday we would meet at a coffee shop and just discuss the opportunities in this space, because I realized the more I spoke about this, the more I understood what it was. But then down the road, 2018, I started getting a lot of speaking opportunities locally, and eventually I got my first international speaking opportunity in Moscow, so at the World Blockchain Summit. And down the road, Women's Month, August, I was approached by some people in South Africa saying, oh, hey, there's an association that we're trying to bring together, so would you be interested in being part of it? And I was appointed chairperson.
First of all, it's amazing that, I just want to say, just the notion of I wanted to make myself relevant. It's a line that we hear from so many women around the world, and you've done it in a place that is the hardest, I think, or one of the hardest to do in that respect. Yeah. Is it hard to be a woman at the helm of a corporation?
It is, but I think it's how you carry yourself. So what I told myself is that you will notice me. I don't care how you do it. I don't care, is it the way I'm going to be dressed? Is it how I'm going to speak? Somewhere, somehow, you will have to notice me. And I know I've had situations whereby I'm speaking at an event and somebody just asked me, are you one of our speakers? I'm like, yes, I am. They're like, are you nervous? I'm like, no, why? It's like, I'm actually nervous for you, you know. And
because you're a woman?
Because I'm a woman, and because I'm young. And, you know, sometimes they'll be like, are you sure? Is she sure she knows what she's talking about? So I said, no, I'm not nervous, so you shouldn't be. So I decided to say, you know what, you're going to have to notice me, whether you like it or not. I could be the most colorful person in the room, but somehow you're going to
notice me.
Yeah.
That's exactly, I think, what blockchain needs. Okay, let's think as we're getting closer to to wrapping this up. We're sitting here at the end of 2019.
Yes.
You know, this to me is going to be the beginning of a very fast technological decade. I don't think we realize how fast, you know, the decade that is beginning in January is going to be. What do you hope for Africa? How do you see it moving? You know, what do you hope for Africa in the next decade that is about to, you know, drop upon us, so to speak, by the end of the month?
Okay, so I actually hope for Africa to be informed and educated, and also, to just be part of the fourth industrial revolution, because I believe Africa has a lot of young people, right? And right now, the young people are being actually educated and trained for jobs that won't exist. So I'm hoping that we could actually, give them an alternative, give them employability skills so that they're actually ready for the fourth industrial revolution. Otherwise, Africa will be will be in the Stone Age.
You want to make everybody relevant. Yeah, you want to make everybody relevant. I don't think people realize that that's how fast it's going to be moving in that respect. You came here, we're sitting here in Tel Aviv for the Blockchain for Global Impact conference. What is your organization, the United Africa Blockchain Association, hoping to find in this conference?
Partnerships. Actually, we're also trying to see, I think mostly it's partnerships, because I believe partnership is the new capital, and collaboration is the new capital. So how do we work together? Because Tel Aviv is like the tech capital of the world. So how?
Sometimes it's hard to feel that when you live here, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because you're used to it. So it's really more about partnerships and see how we can collaborate to help the African people, because like I said, I think Africa has a lot of young people, and they'll be very useful around the world. And Africa is, like, it's an emerging economy. So there's a lot that we can do in partnership.
In that respect. Just going back to Jack Dorsey, as I said, he mentioned he wants to move to Africa. Does that help, names like that? Do you need more Jack Dorseys because the world can't just do it on its own for Africa?
Yes, we do. And this is what I'll say. They say a prophet is never appreciated in his own country, right? So sometimes people look up to people who are outside to come and tell them, hey, this is happening, because they'll be like, oh, this is just Yaliwe speaking, right? But if people like Jack Dorsey come in and say, look, guys, this is what it is, I think it will open a lot of eyes and ears, and people will be ready to listen to us,
I can't let you go without asking you, what do you think of Libra? Do you think Libra is something?
Okay, so
what do you think of Libra? And I mean, if it happens, okay, do you think that is what Africa needs?
I normally say Libra is a necessary evil. So
Libra is a necessary evil. Talk about a tweet. Yes.
So
why?
I think it would help us with the mass adoption that we're really, really hoping for. I'll tell you why. Facebook is it's so big in Africa. I think even somebody in the village is on Facebook. Sometimes I say you see them with their small phones and the blurry pictures, but they are on Facebook. So it's a necessary evil. It's
a necessary evil. I mean, that would mean mass adoption. If it's launched in Africa, as he said, it will probably mean mass adoption. I wonder if that'll happen in 2020. Yaliwe, I cannot thank you enough for being with us today. You are the chairperson of the United Africa Blockchain Association. As you know, not only are you more than relevant to me, I really, really hope your work succeeds, because it stands a chance because of women like you. We were Fireside Chat with the amazing Yaliwe Soko and Block TV. That's who we are, and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.